Hey guys, so I'm here to give you a brief synopsis of my history as a musician and significant events in my history as a musician that has shaped me as a musician today. And just going to go over a couple of brief influences that I've had in my own creative process. And there are a couple of people specifically that I would be listing in that process. Let's just jump into it. There's really no more introduction necessary. So, I tried to play trumpet for 5th grade in band, and the teacher at my school at the time really sucked at her job. She didn't really explain anything in depth. She just kind of handed us the sheet music and expected us to be able to play it. So I gave up band after 5th grade, and then I moved to a bigger town, bigger school, and I thought, hey, probably a better music program, right? So I picked trumpet back up, and this was my 8th grade year, right? It turns out that at that point in time, the teacher is already expecting that everybody knows how to already play their instrument, and I couldn't afford lessons, so I toughed it out. I stayed in band throughout high school, but I have never taken a lesson in my life. Once. I hang out at the guitar store here in town a lot, but that's to get picks and stuff. So, I don't take lessons there. So every instrument I actually play, I am self-taught. I've never taken a lesson. I've never sat down with anybody and been like, oh, I've downloaded fingering charts for the trumpet myself. And more so onto my high school career. That's when I really started developing, I wouldn't say a knack, but a particular interest in playing more instruments than just the trumpet. My freshman year, I actually transitioned from playing trumpet to French horn. And that was something that was really difficult for me because I had just gotten used to playing trumpet on my right hand, and as most musicians know, French horn is played with your left hand, and I'm not very coordinated with my left hand at all. So that was kind of a weird transition for me to switch from a two-handed instrument where only one hand actually affects your tone versus a two-handed instrument where if you're holding your right hand wrong, the tone is completely off, the pitch is completely off. It was a weird experience for me, but so I played trumpet for pep band and then French horn for concert band my freshman year. My sophomore year, I dedicated myself in concert and pep band entirely to French horn. So I played French horn. I actually played two styles of French horn. I can play the single horn and I can play the double horn. The double horn is essentially the same thing as a single horn, except it has twice as many valves and a thumb trigger. The single horn only has 3 keys like a trumpet. But I would play French horn during concert band and what is called a mellophone during marching band, which is essentially just a marching French horn. There's nothing special to it. And I would play trumpet for jazz band my sophomore year. But I also started working my sophomore year, so I wasn't really able to throw myself into jazz band as much as I would have liked to have. So I didn't really actually get to play at any of the gigs. I did get to solo at the end of the year for the concert that all the parents showed up to, so that was pretty cool. My junior year I didn't do jazz band. I only did concert and pep, and so I only played French horn and mellophone. My senior year I did jazz band again, and I did get to go to a couple of those gigs. I did get to go to a couple of festivals with them, and that was really cool. I really liked being a part of that again, because I fell out of touch with my trumpet because I hadn't picked it up in about a year. And now I am a few months away from going to a college near where I live as a music theory and musical education major. And I'm going to be playing in the pep band, the concert band, and the jazz band, and I might possibly be joining the choir. I think that's a requirement for the musical theory major, so that might be interesting. And in my junior and senior year of high school, that's when I started picking up more than just your typical concert band instruments. The funny thing is, I started playing bass before I started playing guitar, and those of you who have been around since the very first video of my channel is just a 30-second clip of me playing Animal I Have Become by 3 Days Grace on an acoustic guitar. I didn't start on guitar. I started on bass. And the funny story about my bass is I didn't actually want to play bass when I first bought it. I was in the store, I saw it, and I was like, you know what would look cool sitting in my room? That $800 bass. So, but now I actually know how to play it. I wouldn't say proficiently. I'm still very much so a beginner in most of the instruments I play. The only instrument I would say I have the skill level enough to call myself proficient at is the trumpet or the French horn. And then I got my first guitar, which is actually this beauty right here. So my first guitar is the Ibanez RGAR 200. It is a locked nut false Floyd Rose bridge. It's a great guitar. The neck is very smooth. I've never had an issue with it. And it was a very solid purchase for me because it has been a great instrument in helping me further my abilities as a musician. So I really enjoy playing that guitar. You'll actually see that guitar again in the next video I'm uploading, which is just the current collection of instruments I have. And yeah, and my collection has just kind of grown since then. Now, that's pretty much my synopsis of it as a history of a musician. And, you know, significant events, you know, I can only really name a couple right off the top of my head. You know, I already listed the one about getting back into music my 8th grade year because of moving to a bigger town. I figured that would be a little more helpful to try and learn in a larger group, with a larger group, I'm sorry, than a small town would be. So that was something I tried out. And it was actually my best friend to this day who convinced me to join French horns, because he played French horn and they only had 2 people in their section at the time. So I was like, hell yeah, I'll give it a try. And my sister had previously played French horn, so we had a French horn at my house, but that was a single horn, and the high school I went to used double horns. So I showed up to audition with a single horn, and they were like, and I was like, yeah, just give me last chair, and they're like, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, Sean Rahman is really the reason why I started playing French horn. Sean Rahman also, ironically, was the rhythm / lead guitarist and backup vocalist of the first band I ever formed, which I actually still have the logo of right over here, called ourselves Expired Evolution. Yeah, we started out as a 3-man group. It was me playing bass, my buddy Sean on guitar and backup vocals, and our friend Nicholas on the drums. We grew into a 4-man group when we brought in a vocalist, because Sean and I were both beginners on our instruments, so we couldn't sing and play at the same time. I still have difficulty singing and playing. I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying. You might see it soon. I don't know. And we just kept bringing in members. We brought in a rhythm guitarist. So, but by the time the band broke up, it was a 6-member group. There was the 3 original, our vocalist, the vocalist that we brought in, Morgan LaFay. She's a real short girl, but she was a lot of fun to be around. Great vocalist, a lot of talent. Right. Then we actually brought in a trombone player for a little bit, but due to scheduling conflicts, we just weren't able to keep the band going. So I tried to start a second band, and that band focused more on original content than it did on covers, and we actually had about an EP or 2 worth of content written, but there was an issue with our guitarist. None of the members in the band got along with the guitarist, because he was a very difficult man to work with. He was one of those it's my way or the highway types. So it was very difficult to work with him. And that was only a 4-man group, but you know, to this day, I still do regret breaking up that group because we probably would have had an EP or two out by now. And we had a lot of stuff written. We had a good time playing together. We could creatively bounce off of one another, but I will openly admit our guitarist was a much better musician than anybody else in the band other than perhaps our drummer, which is not the same drummer from my first group, by the way. And he was just better than us, so we couldn't keep up with him, and he realized that. So push come to shove, the group broke up. I still jam with our drummer every now and then. He's a great musician. He was the blonde kid in the second video that I uploaded, just so that I had some content, you know. But you know, that's really all my significant events. But you know, as far as influences go, to name bands specifically, when I'm working with a group playing guitar or bass, I actually would cite, you know, bands like Breaking Benjamin, 3 Days Grace, Rest Repose, those guys as my influences working with a group, because working with a group, I feel like it's more of a payoff playing for a group. But when I'm working on my own individual music, as you guys will see when the EP finally comes out, I tend to work solo more on the alternative rock, indie rock kind of scale. There's one song I've written for the EP that the EP is actually titled after, the Insanity of Miranda EP. The song Insanity of Miranda kind of has more of a hard rock feel to it, but for the most part, when I work on solo projects, they all end up having a indie or alternative sound to them, which I'm okay with because I like that style of music. But you know, when it comes to groups, I prefer playing hard rock, nu metal. My second band, technically speaking, was a subgenre of metal that you would call melodic metalcore, but like I said, it just ended up not working out. So, and that's really all I've got for you guys today. I really appreciate you guys sticking around, and I will see you next time. So, peace.